Fourth gen Maxima world. What up? What's up? For those of you people, yeah, I'm sorry for turning the camera sideways. You're gonna have to adjust yours. But it's full HD, so hopefully it'll pan out. It's like 3,800 megapixels by something. I don't know. This video is for the people that are interested in a transmission drop for a 5-speed max. This is most of everything which I took off for just the transmission. I had to drop my upper oil pan. All the OGs already know this stuff. Y'all could just skip this or chime in, make a comment. What made it easier for you to drop a 5-speed Maxima transmission? Yeah, so I chucked the rear wheels, yanked the handbrake, put it in neutral, left it in neutral. Battery out, air cleaning assembly, snorkel all the way up to the intake out. Battery tray, find them rusty bolts, take the battery tray out. I got cut the heck up trying to like walk my transmission back to the car with my hand and trying to level it on a floor jack. It's just easier. Get the battery tray with the freaking get the battery tray out of the way so you don't have to worry about it. The fuse and the relay boxes or whatever could stay there. It doesn't really matter. It's just that stupid tray is in the way. Stupid dryer. Hold on. So anyways, for the record, I did not take out my passenger side axle to pull the trans. The trans was already out of the car. 5-speed, non-LSD, 99 max, pre-cats and all that. It was out of the car without the passenger side being jacked up in the air. I only worked on the driver's side. That's the only thing I really had to do, and support the underneath with 2 jack stands, and while moving my service jack around to get to where I want, and and messing with under there, trying to get all the bolts out. So anyways, after you get your battery tray, snorkel and all that, and all out of the way, and battery tray out of the way, and disconnect the ground, or just take the battery out. Like I said, what is it that you want to do? Think about it. You want to take out the transmission, so you start from the driver's side, what you can see on top, and you start on top. Some people go up underneath before. Well, go ahead and do that, but your back probably would be hurting when you have to lean over that engine bay, so I chose to go for the latter. Starter, get the starter out. Yeah, the starter has more than one bolt in it. Sorry, but anyways, like I was saying, your battery for your 5-speed or your automatic, but I really want to refer to the 5-speed Maximas. You got a short one closer to the slave cylinder. You have this long one that goes right through to your transmission, through the transmission there, all the way to the engine side of the transmission, and boom, that's your last transmission bolt, so to speak. You cannot take out this gearbox without getting your starter, at least this bolt, out of the way. And while you're there, might as well just take that one out of the way. Just get it out of there, because you can lift through the transmission hole and help lift that transmission. Just take the starter out. So other than that, disconnect your harnesses and all that stuff that's running all over the place. Make it easy for yourself. Yeah, sorry, I switched the camera again. So all the belts I had to deal with, starter got 2, and I'm thinking that long one over there goes through the trans case all the way through to the engine side of the trans. You're looking for the ones on top that crown around the transmission. There are going to be about 4 of them all the way around. Starting near the slave cylinder, there'll be 17s. Or wait, is that the 17s? No, those are the 14s. Yeah, these the little 17s. And as you can see, they're like mid-length. Yeah, they're standard Nissan mid-length bolts with these wannabe fine threaded. See, there's 4 of them that crown around the top of the transmission, going all the way down to your I think it's REF or POS crank sensor. Yeah, crank sensor. Get the crank sensor out of the way, take that out of there, leave it in the transmission, just unconnect the harness, and you should be alright. And there's 4 more 14s underneath the transmission, but when you go to get these 17s, they're from the battery tray side facing in. So after you, the same side as the starter, look for 4 17s that are going to be covered in probably soot, black dust, or whatever. 4 of them that crown around that whole half moon going down to your crank sensor. And on the back, on the reverse side of the transmission, when you get up under the car, if you're ready to, you're going to see 4 more 14s at the bottom near the inspection plate, bolted in from the opposite side. Yep, that's right. You got to get up under there near that cross member, and it's best to just get the cross member out the way. Yeah, I said it. So you got the service jacks and those jack stands, right? Well, here's what you want to do. Do not lift the car without taking your wheel off, because you're defeating the purpose there. You want to take the wheel off. I left the strut in there, but I disconnected the strut at the bottom 2 bolts just to swivel that wheel all the way around and let it drop, so I could get the half shaft all the way out without fighting with it. Pop out the half shaft, the axle from the driver's side, half shaft, axle. You just heave in and bloop, and it pops right out. Once you do that, and you got the wheel out the way, you should be able to look under your little mud rain guard there at the rear motor mount bolt. Should be facing like this, facing you like that. It should be, if they bolted it incorrectly, and I'm pretty sure you can see it from the driver's side. Hopefully you won't have to go to the passenger side. And it is a 17, and you're gonna need, like, oh man, imagine you're putting so many of these extensions from Harbor Freight on there. I had like at least like 5 feet, 3 to 4 feet, or 2 to 3 feet of extension. Get you some cheap extensions and a 1/2 inch drive, or even, which is better, sturdier, or 3/8. Yeah, and it is a 17. So boom, take out that rear motor mount. Now, after you get your wheel off the ground, then you go for the front one as well, while supporting the transmission from the casing. You want to unbolt those 4 transmission ear mount bolts, or yeah, you get that transmission ear mount bolt backed out, but not fully out, and then you back these out a little bit. Just make it easy on yourself. Just something give you a problem, you just unhook it, and you're supported from underneath by a jack stand or a service jack. Where is those freaking cross member bolts, boy? Yo, I'm saying though. Cross member bolts, 2 short ones in the front, 2 long ones in the back. In case you didn't know, there is size difference. And like I said, you want to support the engine and the trans. Don't disconnect the trans all the way from the engine yet. You took out the 4 17s around the top and the starter bolts. It's still hooked up together, and I'll tell you why. After you take the wheel out, after you swivel out your half shaft, after you back out the motor mount out the rear and the front, and support the transmission from underneath, because it's still in union with the engine, support it from underneath with a service jack, and then you back out the cross member bolts front and rear. But the thing is, before you get that cross member out the way, there's something you need to think about. Will you have to get back up under that car, and why? Now, after helping my boy with a few tranny drops, imagine that long axle that comes from the passenger side, and imagine that long bar that comes across from the passenger side and plucks into your tranny from the passenger side. Now you're going to want to feel around on top of that axle about a few centimeters above it, or get a flashlight. You're going to see a 17 that is facing inward, closing up the transmission from the engine side. From the back of the engine side to the bell housing for your driver's side. That 17 is the most overlooked, that people are looking for. It's right above your axle that comes in from the passenger side. Get under there and get that out first, so you don't have to have your hands reaching up under there while the cross member's out and you're scared. And it came out like very slow. I had to keep turning and turning and turning. Oh, my hands. That's the reason why you want that bolt out the way first before messing with the cross member. So after you get that stupid 17 out the way that's on top of the axle, now you still have 4 more 14s that line up the bottom of that transmission, right there near the inspection plate, underneath that half moon. Boom. You still got your engine and transmission supported, and you still got your transmission supported by the transmission mount, even though you backed out the bolt just a little bit. True. What you want to do now is, let's see, which one would hurt less to do? Get the cross member out the way. Boom. Finish dropping the cross member. Nothing's gonna happen to you. Yeah, you just took the bolt out of your front and rear motor mount. You're good. It's still hanging on by the right ear by the passenger side, and it's still hanging on by the transmission mount solely, and it's still bolted up together at the bottom. Okay, and because of the input shaft splines, it's not going anywhere. It's just the weight you have to worry about. Make sure you support the weight with jack stands. Now that you got your cross member out the way, which is has weight to it when it comes down, so use caution, about 25, 30 pounds. Support the engine side of that bell housing. Support the engine side underneath carriage, because guess what? You don't want that service jack or any jack stand holding up the tranny while you want to see it back off of the engine when you start to pry it off. So put your jack stand or your service jack on the engine side, a jack stand, a brick, a flashlight, something to hold it up. What you want to do now is finish taking out that transmission mount. Well, back all of these out, all the 4 of those transmission bolts, the 14s underneath, facing the opposite way, back them out. Now you want to go to that yoke in the back of the shift linkage, that 4-way looking yoke. I believe it was facing the outside of the car like that, and that was a 13. So I went up under there with a box end wrench, and this side is a 14, that flat side. That's your yoke right there. You want to put all these in the same bag so you know it's for your transmission. Clear bag somewhere where nobody bothers it. Now there's 2 shift linkages, bolts on that shift linkage, that arm that goes to your transmission, does all the heaving and hoeing, right? They're both 14s. One is longer than the other. Be mindful that the shorter shift linkage bolt goes into the bottom, towards the bottom of that shift linkage, and it goes in from the passenger side towards the driver's side. The longer shift linkage bolt goes up at the top somewhere over there. It's easy. I thought they were different sizes. They might not be. Maybe they're the same size. Whatever. But there's 2 14s in their shift linkage. That's when you come out. Then you got the yoke. Then you got the rest of these 4 transmission bolts out the way, and it's being held up by your transmission mount. See how cool that was? Boom. Take out that use your service jack. Get up under there. Put the service jack under your transmission. Is ready to come out. Take that last transmission mount ear bolt out. If you're having problems with that, disconnect the transmission from on top of the air by these 4 bolts. I must warn you, you might have to use an impact gun with that, because I rather deal with the mount bolt rather than deal with those 4 by hand. After that, your transmission is ready to drop. Get you a pry bar or a flathead screwdriver, and look for that pry spot that should be on the front of the bell housing of the transmission. Just look for an indentation, or if you took your cam sensor out of the way, you can use that too. If your jack is supporting your transmission at this time, you want to just basically work the transmission back, and then you start seeing it open up and create some space. If you want to get in there and manhandle your own transmission and reach in there where your starter would have been and just give it a little shaking around there, it'll back off fairly quick. And guess what? You need something on top of that floor jack to level that transmission. Why? Because that transmission is going to fall down. It's not going to sit straight. It's a round thing that weighs almost 100 pounds. So it's a round thing that's sitting on like a floor jack that supports it like this. Never. It fell off. Why do you want to support it? Why not just let it fall? Because transmission fluid that you will need to replace is going to leak from where those axles go. Simple as that. You want transmission fluid all over your floor? If you don't care about it, let it drop. Back it off, let it drop, and hurry up and get up under there and put it upright. And you should be able to drag it through the driver's side wheel well if you got your that mud guard unscrewed, unbolted, and swing it out the way. And you should be able to, if your car is jacked up high enough, just pull it right underneath, and you should be good. Transmission is out. You're looking at your clutch, and that's bolted onto your flywheel or your pressure plate. Beyond. So imagine all these bolts. Can you do it? Yes, you can. This ain't even all the bolts. You're missing the stuff that connects your air snorkel and all that, ground and all that, battery tray and all that. I have those in separate bags because it's like phases. You know what goes where when you got them in certain bags with certain shit, basically. I had to drop my upper oil pan and lower oil pan just to get to the rear main seal, other than doing a clutch job. So I had more hardware. The oil pans are all back under there, cured, fully cured and stuff. This is all passenger side stuff, axles and strut, AC compressor. If you want to know what, there's 2 O-rings from inside of the upper oil pan that sit up sandwiched at the top. If you want to know how much further you have to take off from this, trust me, it's a lot. You have to take out that passenger axle because there is a stupid bracket that's on top of where the upper oil pan is, where the half moon where you put your filter in. Yeah, there's a bracket over there that's annoying, and it will not let you drop the oil pan because there's a bolt that's hidden behind that bracket. So imagine you gotta unbolt your AC compressor and let it hang somewhere. You have to unbolt the 2 AC compressor bolts that bracket to the oil pan. You gotta take out mad screws out of the upper and lower oil pan and make sure you know where they go. You have to drop your own Y pipe. You gotta take out your own passenger side axle because I tried to skip that and I couldn't. You have to disconnect all your oil harnesses and the crank sensor or cam sensor on that side. You gotta drain your oil and take out your oil filter and drain that too. You could use that. It's a lot. You gotta take out bolts on the inside of the lower oil pan, like about 3 or 4, and then you just let the thing drop. Yeah, you're gonna want the wheel off of that side. So imagine you need, on top of your transmission, now you got like 50, almost 40 bolts, more screw, the miscellaneous things to be mindful of to get to your replacement for your lower oil pan, upper oil pan, and exhaust bolts gotta be, you gotta make sure you know where this stuff goes. put them in bags, different bags where you know it's like phase 1 is this, phase 1 is 2, phase 2 is that. I took a break. Oh yeah, another thing with your transmission, don't forget to know where your slave cylinder bolt is, the one with the hole in it. Slave cylinder bolt. Where the hell? Oh, it's one of these. Has a hole in it. Yeah. There we go. Slave cylinder bolt with the hole in it for the brake fluid. Hydraulic clutch fluid, they call it. Brake fluid. So just be mindful of that. I mean, this is not all the bolts I had to deal with from dropping that trans. And the reason why I say that is because the clutch bolts is like 9 of them, or whatever, from the pressure plate. Then the clutch comes out. Then about the ones from the flywheel, about 8. Yeah, there's so many bolts, but it's doable. It's doable. If you got 14, 17, shallow socket, deep socket, get you a 13, 14, 15, 16. Get some box wrenches just in case. Shallow and deep sockets, and make sure you got extensions out the ass for that motor mount that goes in the back of your engine. I was able to take that out without a gun. I didn't need a gun for that one. I needed a gun for the 4 that go on top of the transmission ear mount that go right into the trans casing and the flywheel. So other than that, I was able to do both motor mount bolts, front and rear, by hand. I was able to do the cross member bolts by hand because they weren't torqued to crap. They were good. But when I put it back on, I will put some anti-seize on it and torque it to crap. If you have a bolt that you do not want to come loose with anti-seize, like a caliber bolt or something that like a cross member bolt, now usually people put anti-seize on threads. The thing is, when your thread enters whatever it's going to be in, you don't have to worry about that ever getting weatherized. It's up here around the neck of the bolt, and where the bolt makes contact with that surface, that's where you want to put the anti-seize. Not down here, because you're going to be worried that something's going to back out and your engine's going to fall down. When it's something important like a strut bolts, I do threads. I do put anti-seize on threads. I just make sure I bolt them really hard. But if it was a cross member bolt, nah, I'm not putting none down there where it's going to be in the car like that with all that vibration. I'll pull it around the neck, so when you go to take it off, it's going to come loose. Caliper bolts, same thing. To stop it from being seasoned, and you don't have to use heat like a torch and stuff like that, put the anti-seize on the neck of the bolt, not down here on the thread, so that way you can have peace of mind that something's not going to drop off your car because of anti-seize. Even though you got millions of threads, fine threads, that's going to hold it. But if you're scared, just put it around the neck. That's most. Clean the bolt while it's out. Get you a wire brush or a wire wheel or some sandpaper. Clean the freaking bolt. Do yourself a favor. Clean your bolts. Thank you. Bye-bye.